Hi, and welcome to the Senior Network. I'm your host, Greg Fulton. Today we're joined with Becky Davis, the Cypress of Hilton. Hey, good to see you.
Thank you for having me again.
Carrie Babcock, PruittHealth Home Health. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, Greg.
And we are back here at the Elder Law and Estate Planning Center. Gorgeous place, by the way, don't you think? Mm-hmm. Well, tell me, I know that March is here. It's, what is it, National Nutritional Month, I think it is. I saw that on the paper the other day, right? So are we all eating correctly now? First, yeah, right?
Yeah, bathing suit season's right around the corner.
And it will be here before you know it.
Yeah,
it really will.
Exactly.
And it's nice to see the springtime, especially here in the low country, right?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, before the show, I know we were talking a little bit about, we were always talking about the senior community and the population, and we were talking about cognitive development, cognitive things like that, as far as the deterioration and aging and things. Becky, I know you deal a lot with families that go through that, I know, aging in place that we always talk about. Tell us a little bit about some of that.
Well, especially when it comes to cognitive abilities, as we age in place, certain symptoms may come up that may concern a family member, a son or daughter, and we may get a phone call that, mom and dad, they're just not engaging in life as they used to.
Right.
And this always happens after a major holiday when families come together. We get a lot of phone calls from the children. Now, does this mean that with one suffering a little bit of dementia or cognitive impairment, does that mean you cannot move to the Cypress? No, it doesn't. Right. It just means that maybe sooner rather than later, definitely before there's a diagnosis of Alzheimer's. And how do we determine that? When people move to the Cypress, we do require a physical.
Okay.
And you'd be surprised how many people do not realize that as a continuing care retirement community, you have to pass a physical and their doctor has to say that they can live independently. So we leave that up to their doctor, whomever that may be, to say that they can live independently and pass a physical. So it's our goal at the Cypress that folks live independently as long as possible.
Sure. And
if the need arises, we have the Dogwood neighborhood on campus for dementia care. And that doesn't necessarily mean that's a life sentence either. I mean, it could be something else that arises where they need just skilled care. But to my point of all this is that the children have peace of mind.
Sure.
They know that as mom and dad live and age in place, wherever their needs may take them, the Cypress has the availability to rise up and meet their needs, and that's the most important thing. And let me tell you, cognitive impairment is a huge concern for lots of people.
Well, I can imagine. I mean, I know that we all, as we age, decline with our cognitive abilities.
Oh
right?
my gosh! If I forget somebody's name, I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Here we go. But yeah. So.
I think the magic number, I'm no physician by no means, but I think at 70 years old is when you really start to kind of see a little bit more of that. And we're not talking about dementia and Alzheimer's, we're just talking about some cognitive decline.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the good news, what I did read, is a glass of wine a day will help that.
Oh, yay.
Exactly.
Well, then I'm right.
There you
talk
go.
about nutrition. I got that covered.
Well, that kind of leads me to the next point. We talked about this on the last show, Carrie, with depression. Mm-hmm. And we see a lot of that when we go into the homes. So tell us a little bit about how you guys work with that.
Well, Greg, let me just paint a picture
Sure.
real quick of maybe a typical scenario that we would work with on a daily basis. So patient has some sort of acute condition. They go to the hospital. They get discharged from the hospital. They've got a whole new list of medications they can't pronounce. They don't know what they are.
Right.
They go home, and our home health team will come up, will follow up with a nurse, physical therapist, occupational therapist, speech therapist, or home health aide, depending on what the patient needs.
Right.
So now they're home, and what we do well is we always get to know the patients and their families. And of course, no two situation is alike. Some people don't have the resource of having their children to help them.
Yeah.
Some people need a little help, a little more help, which is where you come in.
Sure.
But what happens is when we go into the home, we want to find out a little bit about this person. Before you went to the hospital, what did you enjoy? Well, I watch The Price is Right, I like Days of Our Lives, and I do a crossword puzzle every day.
Great.
Okay? So when we go in, did they pick up and resume those activities? If they haven't, we need to look at and say, has depression crept in?
There you go.
And every patient that we see gets a depression questionnaire. It's called a PHQ-2, just 2 questions. And the questions worded something like this: over the past 2 weeks, have you been bothered by any of the following? And one of them is a feeling of hopelessness, depressed mood. And then the other one is just decrease activity levels.
Sure.
Have you lost interest in doing activities that you used to be interested in? And then from there is a very scientific score that is tabulated. And don't ask me
Right, the details of that.
don't ask me the formula, but there's a scientific score that's tabulated, and if the patient scores at a 3 or higher, it means that they are depressed. Typically, what we'll do is we'll call their doctor to see if they can get an antidepressant prescribed, because when you look at depression and how it affects healthcare, it's tremendous. So let's say a patient has fallen, they broke a hip, they broke a leg, an arm, something like that. They go home, and there are several cues to depression that we can pick up on. Loss of interest in activities they used to be interested in. Loss of appetite. Are they sitting in the dark all day? Have they stopped watching those shows that they love? Do they become irritable and agitated quickly? Are they forgetful? Is there just general apathy? Do they not want to get out of bed? Have they stopped bathing? Things like that. So we'll look at that, and if you've taken a patient, let's say they broke that arm or that hip, now they're home, they're not turning on the TV, they're not engaged in those shows or those crosswords they used to do, and they've stopped eating, they're not going to heal. Your body is begging for that food, those nutrients that are going to help heal those wounds. And so a little thing, well, it's not a little thing, but it can seem like something where, if I asked my grandma, for instance, why didn't you watch your show today? Well, I just wasn't up to it. That's a little cue, little clue that the depression might have crept in, and if they stop eating, their body's not going to heal.
Right. And like you said, it's kind of a cycle, because if you're trying to heal from an illness, then the depression, it increases the risk of the illness, so it's just a kind of bad cycle, right?
Question for you, though. We're talking about sunlight. I know sunlight has a lot to do with folks' personalities. I know sundowners, when the sun goes down, if you do suffer from any sort of depression. In the winter, well, in the Low Country, we have, it's pretty sunny here all year long.
We're lucky.
We're very lucky. It's very sunny.
This was a mild winter, too.
Yeah, we're very mild. But I'm wondering if in the northern states, if they see, I don't know if there are any statistics on, increased depression because of the longer winters. I'm sure that
you can imagine it.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Getting outside.
I don't know any numbers, but I would imagine that is an issue up north. I've known several people who lived in Alaska, and they go half the year where there's barely any sunlight,
Right.
and it does affect their moods, their habits. And when we talk about habits, if you're depressed, some people tend to self-medicate with alcohol. Well, now you are putting yourself at more risk of developing something like chronic heart failure.
Yeah.
And so it's very important that if we can get to someone and get them a safe prescription medication to help lift them up a little bit, they're not going to gravitate toward the alcohol or the benzos, drugs like that, that are going to deteriorate their health even further.
Yeah, the rest of their body, exactly, you're right.
Well, I know at the Cypress, we have our activities director. We are out on that beach every Monday.
Really?
Yeah, unless it's pouring down rain, we are out there, and it doesn't matter what the temperature is. Just get them out on the beach, walking. Think how therapeutic that is. And
Absolutely.
it's
therapeutic
great.
for me.
Oh, exactly. But yeah,
That's why we live here.
and that's why we live here. More reason to live in the Low Country, right?
Yeah, that brings up a point. Mobility is very important.
Oh, that too.
Right? So tell us a little bit at the Cypress. I know you guys have all kinds of levels of activities of people active and mobility and all that. Tell us.
Yeah, and I've talked about this before about the 7 stages of wellness, and one of the big things is physical activity. Right now, we are doing for every minute you walk, that's a mile or something like that. There's some sort of formula that they're using. So the staff are competing against the members. And the members are kicking our butts because obviously they have more time to exercise. So, but yeah, that's a way of promoting wellness and competition. Let's think it's fun competition too.
So do you track it and put this up on
Yeah,
boards?
it's on a, we have the United States of America, and they were going so fast that we had to take a side road to Alaska, and then they're going to come down to California. The members are amazing. Yeah, they're for every minute that they exercise, it's a mile or some quantified amount of exercise.
Well, hold the thought. We're going to need to take a break. Stay with us here on the Senior Network. We'll be right back.